Welcome to Innovation and Leadership. I'm Jess Larson. On this episode, we get to have my new friend, Alastair Callendar. He is with Moravia, both on the charter side of yachts, yacht brokerage, other things. Alastair is a very interesting individual. Besides working with some of the world's wealthiest at one of the most prestigious yacht organizations that's with a long history, he does incredible things in philanthropy, ocean conservation, things with the UN, things with the Commonwealth, but especially close to my heart, helps with combating human trafficking. We've got a lot of fun things to talk about today. Alastair, what did I miss in the intro?
Thanks, Jess. Firstly, thank you for having me today. Great to see you again. It's an honor to be asked to join you on your podcast, and look forward to delving into a few of my passions, and look forward to exploring a little bit about how I can help you and your network.
Yeah, well, let's start with this. A lot of people will be listening to this on audio, not watching. Your background there, the yacht over your right-hand shoulder. Can you talk about designing this rather unique piece of watercraft?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so this is 190-foot concept above me. I called her Soliloquy, the super green super yacht. And that was back in 2008, 2009. And my background's yacht design. And I set up my first business to try and prove a point to the world. You can have eco luxury. It's no longer an oxymoron. And if it's done correctly in a carefully holistic design approach, it is possible to have zero emission yacht propelled from the sun and the wind, but also be the most luxurious item on the planet, which is every super yacht. So it's a concept, but it certainly captured the attention of various awards and media, and it was a great way to my sort of first foray into my career in the super yacht industry.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about a lot of fancy things and working with some of the largest yachts in the world. You guys headquarters out of Monaco, but I want to talk about what it was like to open up and work in the US. But let's go back and start with tell us about how you grew up and why you think that's become an advantage to what you do.
Yeah, thanks, Jess. So, my background is, as you can probably hear, I'm from England. I grew up in the south coast of England, in a very beautiful natural harbour called Chichester Harbour. And that's where, since I was as young as my earliest memories are on a sailing dinghy with my family, learning to sail in a beautiful little fishing village in the south of England. And then because of my passion for sailing and all things nautical, spending every day I could remember on the water, as well as my enjoyment and love of art and design when I was a student, I thought, why didn't I go to university and do a yacht design degree? And so that's how I sort of got into the world of yacht design, and enjoyed a 4-year degree in England. I worked for a yacht builder in the southwest of England during that time. Then I set up my first business, which is a super yacht design studio, and then graduated and promoted some work around the world to do with luxury super yacht and green design.
Very cool. And what decided, how did you decide that this was the aspect of the industry you wanted to spend your time in?
Yeah, it's interesting. I suppose one always has mentors throughout one's life. And I think I've got lots of people to thank that, helped me work out what I enjoy and what I could do as a career. One of my first mentors was an amazing individual who is probably the greatest yachtsman on the planet, called Sir Peter Blake. Sadly, he lost his life in 2005. But prior to that, when I was a little boy, he taught me how to race sailing dinghies in the south of England at this same sailing club. But then after his professional yachting career, winning the America's Cup, which is like the Formula One of yachting, for New Zealand a few times, he then did a lot of ocean conservation and sustainable work around the world, because he had seen how the oceans were changing during his career out doing circumnavigations of the globe. And so as an early mentor of mine, he really like shone a light on what is, ocean conservation and the importance of sustainability. And Sir Peter Blake said, we should not simply condemn, we should try and find solutions to, massive problems. And so that's what helped inspire me to do my design concept of a super green super yacht. And so certainly I've got him to thank. And one of the reasons I got into yachting and yacht design and the yacht industry is thanks to one of my early mentors, which was Sir Peter Blake.
Very cool. I grew up in landlocked Western Canada, into my snowboarding and these kind of things, right? But here just a week ago, I was at the Sail GP race in LA, and a guy that I do run a mini series on this podcast with, Dr. Greg Bailey, bought the Canadian Sail GP team from Larry Ellison, and they won the LA Grand Prix.
Oh,
and
right.
It was like, it's the first time they won. It was fun. It was crazy. I was excited. But I got to meet Sir Ben Ainsley, who, is one, I think he's the most, I don't know, is he top sailor in the world because of all the Olympics and America's Cup stuff, right?
Yes, he's won lots of golds for Great Britain from his early days in the laser class right through to the fin class and all the Olympics. He's one of our most decorated British Olympians ever. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, he agreed to come on the podcast. So I'm excited.
Oh, great. Yeah.
It'd be fun.
Yeah, he's certainly our greatest sailor. And he did a America's Cup campaign for us last year, and they did fantastically well to get through to the finals.
Amazing. So for most of us, seeing the super yachts on social media or YouTube, things like this, so often it's just like it's viewed from afar. And I think a lot of society who isn't in the space doesn't really get to dig in. Help us understand what's coming in the next couple of years. What's changing about the world's largest yachts these days? Whether it's the industry, whether it's the boat, whether it's the client.
Yeah. So certainly as a whole, the industry is in a good place. There's lots of charter vacation activity that typically fuels the sort of path forward for the ownership side of things. And so, it's certainly right now, I've never had a busier start to any year of my career when it comes to yacht charter vacation demand. And that means it's a healthy industry. And that does lead to, good, strong, positive signs for yacht sales and purchase. Overall, perhaps the industry's corrected a bit. It needed to after the heights of COVID unlocking and people wanting to do their bucket list trips and, carpe diem, seize the day, buy a yacht and be in the safety of your own bubble with your own family and loved ones. So that's why we saw, yachting on steroids. But certainly now it's in a good spot. There's great yachts, both on the sales and the charter vacation market. There's quite a lead time to get yachts built and delivered. So the demand is up there, and it's been a very positive couple of years, and I cautiously optimistic that 2025 is looking healthy and looking positive.
Yeah. So can you talk a little bit about the history of Moravia, the parent company, how that's an advantage to you, and then also how things might be a little different here if you're working in North America?
Yeah, thank you. So yes, I work for a company called Moravia Yachting. We're one of the oldest yacht brokerage houses in the world. We've been headquartered out of Monaco since 1962, and we're very much on the sort of boutique end of the market. We're not the largest and the loudest company. We're a company that loves to super serve our clients. We don't need thousands of clients, but we have some of the most extraordinary clients on the planet that we have the privilege of advising and looking after as a independent yacht brokerage house. And in 2020, the owners of the business approached me and said, would you like to launch the Americas region for Moravia Yachting? So it was a terrific opportunity. I'd already been in the States for about probably 12 or 13 years by then. And so I know the market well, and was excited to have that opportunity. So yeah, now we have a presence here in the US. We have an office in Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, and we're sort of growing organically. And to answer the other part of that question, Moravia Yachting does yacht vacations from the price point of a ski trip up to $4 million a week on the world's largest yacht. And on the sales and purchase side, from a couple of million to several hundred million euros or dollars. And our parent company is Hill Robinson. Hill Robinson are about a 24-year-old company. They're the world leader in independent yacht management. And so as an analogy, I always say it's a bit like property management for yachts. And so our company look after anything related to the ownership side of a yacht. So that's crew recruitment, safety, security, maintenance, refit project management, new build project management, fiscal, provisioning. It's extraordinary. It's an amazing organization with a huge reach globally. And we look after about 100 super yachts. From the very largest in the world down to about 100 feet or so. It's a unique structure where Moravia Yachting sits within the wider Hill Robinson group. And we've got that ladder of knowledge for whenever a client comes to me and says, Alastair, I'm interested in purchasing, let's say, a 150-foot yacht. What's it going to cost me? And so I can then lean on my experts in our company, in the Hill Robinson team, and they can provide exact case studies for what does it cost you, not just year one, but year 1 through 5, or 10. It really is a depth of knowledge that is unrivaled, and it's fantastic to have to offer our clients on both the charter and sales side through the Hill Robinson group.
Yeah. Let's talk about the business. When you think about, and let's talk on the broker side for selling, some of the world's largest yachts. This is a clientele that expects a certain level of service, that maybe feels entitled to change their mind sometimes, that doesn't always act or react like your average customer. I would love to talk about your philosophy of serving the ultra high net worth and some of the rookie mistakes that you see others make.
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. I think for me, what it boils down to, my career is 20 years this year in yachting. And what I've seen firsthand is everything boils down to a relationship. I always say I'm in the relationship business. I happen to look after my clients' yachting needs, but actually it's the relationship that everything is, founded on. And so if my clients are coming to me to do a family vacation, a trip in the Bahamas or the Galapagos or Southeast Asia or wherever the trip they want to do, it's not, it's an incredibly important position, because not only am I supporting the principal charterer, but I'm obviously also helping him or her host their family, their friends, their colleagues, their family office, their C-suite executives, their wellness retreats or other platforms why they want to charter the yacht. And so it's a huge responsibility, first and foremost, for me to make sure that relationship is really sound. And I'm honored to say, I've had some clients for 10, 15 years. Now their kids, who I've seen grow up, are becoming my clients. They're going on their honeymoons. They're going on their family holidays. And so it's a real privilege and a wonderful seat to be in when I can build these trusted relationships. And I think what's quite telling is when my clients refer their family, their friends, their colleagues and others to me for questions related to anything in the world of yachts. But also now my clients come to me for more and more things completely not related to yachting. They say, do you know a guy in super prime real estate or private aviation or wealth management or all these other things? And so I can help add value, hopefully, and certainly make sure they're going to get looked after by someone who's also going to provide an exceptional level of service that I know and can trust to help streamline and fast track those sorts of questions. So yeah, for me, it boils down to relationship.
Yeah. When you think of some of the rookie mistakes people make, um, maybe entering this world, or folks who have managed to survive in it but don't have the reputation that they'd probably prefer to have, things like that. What do you think are some of the mistakes that people have dealing with ultra net worth, or I mean royalty, right? People like this.
Yeah, I think it's a interesting question. I think perhaps not asking the right questions and not providing a tailor-made level of service. And so, in my opinion, in my world, the more tailored you can make something, far more personalized and curated and ultimately enjoyable the experience will be for the client. And so it's the opposite of cookie cutter. It's the opposite of a production line. It is 100% clean canvas. Really, let's get down to the detail of what does the human being, the person, the principal client, the owner ultimately want to achieve from the charter or the purchase or the sale or the new build or all these other elements to yachting. And and I can safely say, I've never done two yacht charter vacations the same. You just you get to know the person first, and then you curate and tailor everything around them like a bespoke suit. And I think that's probably an error that I've seen, is where too quickly, too fast, it's like copy and paste. And sure enough, it's not to the level of service that I know I provide. And I hate to see it when things fall short and they're not provided to that level for the yachting enthusiast who ultimately deserves the very highest level.
What are a couple examples of questions that maybe somebody not as accomplished in the space are forgetting to ask, or that people new to yachting are not even realizing that they should be thinking about?
Wow, yeah, great question. I think first of all, ask for a referral of a trusted independent advisor. Um, don't ever go straight to, for example, if you're going to buy a yacht, I'd recommend you don't directly go straight to the source. I'd always say talk to an advisor first, because who's to say that that yacht or that product is correct for them and their family and their purpose. It's important to have the conversation around, how many people are going to be on board. Where are you going to do your cruising? Is it global circumnavigation? Is it going to the polar regions? Do you need an ice class hull? Is it these amenities or those amenities? Do you need 3 cabins or 20 cabins? Do you need the helipad? Do you need the hammam, the sauna, and the masseuse? Uh, you know, do you need a private doctor and surgery on board? Do you need a garage full of toys, or are you looking to do coastal hopping and cruising? There's a wealth of knowledge out there, but if you don't start with an independent advisor, you don't know what you don't know, and you certainly don't know what to ask. So I think, yeah, that's the main message: is work with a trusted individual who can advise you for your best interests, not anyone else's best interest.
Yeah. I want to talk more about this building of trust, because I'm guessing most people listening are not in the yacht business. And I'm also believing that most people listening can take lessons of the way you build such trust with your customers for whatever our businesses are. Talk more about, besides asking great questions and really listening. I'm just reading between the lines, and it sounds like you spend significant time thinking about the answers, trying to be creative about tailoring and helping them feel special. What else would you add to that?
Yeah, I think sort of what's the objective and what's the end goal for the client? Is it to host their kids, grandkids, great grandkids on their yacht? Is it to have a second home on the sea? Is it to circumnavigate the globe, find new species of fish, explore the depths of the ocean, or go heli skiing? Um, it's it's finding out what the objective and the desires of the principal is, and then trying to then best advise and find the most appropriate tailor-made solution to that. And certainly one box never ticks all the boxes. One result never ticks all the boxes. It has to be a sort of comprehensive overview. And that's where I love to bring in my colleagues on the yacht management side who can advise when it comes to the ownership of yachts. But certainly I think if you can get under the initial sort of idea and look at what depths and layers there are to the reason for the yacht ownership, and it could be as fun as I want a platform to watch the Monaco Grand Prix from. It doesn't have to be always global circumnavigation and explorer yachts. There are so many different yachts on the market, like the automotive industry. You could have a Ferrari to get yourself from A to B as fast as possible, or you could have a one of those sort of land yachts that you can go cruising and have all your amenities on board and everything in between. In terms of size and range and distance and luxury. You can have a Honda Accord, or you could have a Rolls Royce or a bespoke Rolls Royce in terms of quality of yachts as well. So lots of conversations ultimately, and trying to have that sort of FaceTime. I'll fly anywhere on the planet for an important face-to-face meeting with a client, because I believe there's a huge amount of importance to sit down with the individual and really get to learn what they want to achieve and what their objectives are.
Yeah, there's this great book called Humble Inquiry by a MIT professor named Edgar Schein. I think it's like the most sophisticated thing ever written about questions. And as you're talking, I'm thinking about like what a service it is to be able to help a client define what they want and peel the onion and get to the deeper layers themselves. And yet how that can be a little bit of a funny thing, especially for somebody who's maybe very high profile, ultra wealthy, used to being in charge. People are looking to for the answers. And the idea of like helping them recognize they haven't fully fleshed out this idea without losing face, without feeling sheepish that they should have known that, or this idea of like educating them while respecting them, and helping them to recognize things they misunderstood without embarrassing them. And can you talk about that process?
Yeah, a little bit. Certainly, I think for me, it's important that the interest of the client are put first and foremost, and so there's never a stupid question. Every question is important to ask, particularly from someone who's not been through the process before. I always like to sit down with the team, whether it's a yacht management expert or someone who's built some of the largest super yachts in the world, who's managed them, who's run them, who's captained them, those who have been to the destinations on the charter side, working with the captains of the said yacht that we're going to charter for a client. It's going down to the nth degree of detail and trying to make sure everything's correct and exceeding expectations. That's the sort of aim of the game. And certainly, on the new build side, we can look after a client, looking at the specification of a yacht, checking it's not just on budget, but it's also on time and it's to the highest possible quality. And because our team have managed the most, or some of the most complex projects ever on the planet about yacht construction, obviously the team can bring that wealth of knowledge with them to the next new build project and help add value and quality to the new building question in favor of and certainly to ultimately provide the client and the customer with the highest possible result. So I don't know if that answered the question, but that's sort of initial thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I want to switch gears. I want to talk about um, philanthropy and how, for so many people, it's a little bit more like wallpaper. It's like it's almost more like a marketing gimmick. Oh, we do this philanthropy stuff too. Um, and for you, like just the volume of it that you do and how much of it you do um, leads me to believe that that is not the case for you. That this is, I mean, everybody cares, but then some people put their time where their mouth is. Some people put their money where their mouth is. You know, everyone would say they care, but not everyone makes the sacrifices or is willing to use up some of their social capital. Um, can you talk a little bit about your passion for philanthropy and why it's fun for you?
Yeah, thank you, Jess. You're right. It's one of my passions. So I think since I was, a little boy, I've always been charitable or enjoyed, supporting various charities through the years. But I don't think I ever kind of gave it a real focus or a real energy until about 5 or 6 years ago. I had the privilege and honor to be invited to one of my mentors' private island in the Caribbean. And when I was staying there, they encouraged me to write my own eulogy. It sounds quite morbid and depressing, but in fact, it really sort of helps really hit home. What do you want to achieve by the time you pass away? You're 100 years old. What do you have to do in the next 20 years, 10 years, 6 months, tomorrow, in order to try and achieve that ultimate goal? And so that was sort of very eye-opening and gave me that helicopter vision. I'll encourage anyone I meet to try and do the same process. It doesn't have to be anything related to philanthropy, of course. It's just you personally, what is your eulogy going to read like? And for me, that whole eulogy, then I boiled it down to one word. And for Alastair, it's, Alastair's one word is philanthropy. And so then we were sitting and chatting and saying, well, if my why in life is philanthropy, how do I combine that with the day job, if you like, with 20 years of yachting expertise and experience and back to that word relationships? And then it occurred to us that why don't I combine those trusted relationships in yachting that I've had the privilege of getting to grow over the years, whether it's a charter vacation client, a yacht owner, a yacht enthusiast. Why don't I combine those trusted relationships with my passion for philanthropy and just simply join the dot? And so since then, it's been a really fun process where I love to host carefully, really curated events on some of our yachts in our fleet. For those watching, there's a yacht behind me here, a 213-foot yacht. And a couple of years ago, I hosted an event for one of the charities that I advise. I'm the exclusive yachting partner to the Queen's Commonwealth Trust in London. They do extraordinary work around the Commonwealth, around the world. And one of their, two of their charities were represented that night. They were flown in from Zambia and from Kenya. And one quick story is relevant to your listeners, I think, where one of my passions is trying to help end human trafficking. And so this charity that was selected was flown to the yacht to come and talk to a room full of yachting enthusiasts, the ultra high net worth individuals that I'd built relationships with, to learn and hear from an extraordinary young social entrepreneur. She has founded an extraordinary charity in Zambia, which is being supported by the Queen's Commonwealth Trust. And her charity so far has saved 13,000 kids from being trafficked.
Incredible.
It gives me goosebumps every time I even, say that out loud. And what's extraordinarily harrowing is that she was trafficked by her own father. She then escaped. She was then brought up by her grandmother, but then went on to do the most wonderful good to save 13,000 others from that hell. And as you can
Do you
imagine.
remember do you remember their website by chance? Or
Yeah, let me share it with you, and maybe it can go into the podcast links.
great.
Um, and and certainly for me, those are the moments where I love what I do. Is when I can connect the dots, and then sure enough, thousands of lives are going to be saved, enhanced, um, all these other good results from simply Alistair connecting people to extraordinary charities. And the list goes on. I love to host curated luncheons at the United Nations in New York, in aid of my role as an advisor to the United Nations Foundation. They're doing great work to help with healthcare, healthcare black holes, and finding healthcare for children refugees in the most remote parts of the globe. They send drones up to cliff top, mountainous areas that would otherwise never see healthcare, let alone get the right medicine into the arms of babies. It's those types of things where I love to host events where, again, my clients are not only very successful often, but they're also extraordinarily generous. Many of them always want to remain anonymous, and they want to give. And I now have a reason to help by joining those dots, thanks to my mentor, and helping to try and transform as many lives as I can to be remembered in my eulogy.
I want to talk about this because many of us who have ultra high net worth clients can see that opportunity, and yet there can be a trepidation of, I don't want to cross lines. I don't want to, I've got the day job. I don't want to jeopardize anything over here by asking them for money for something else. Or I just don't even want to potentially risk damaging the relationship because does it feel like I'm showing up and asking for money? And what if this isn't the cause they're interested in? When you think about navigating that of being a little bit bold for good, and yet in a way that is not jeopardizing a relationship, in a way that is sensitive to this might not be somebody's calling. Like this isn't the issue that they are feeling passionate about. When you think about presenting it, how you do it, introducing it instead of a hard sell, things like this. Can you talk about some of the techniques that have been successful for you to be able to start those conversations with a new client that you haven't had them with before?
Yes, thanks. Great question. I've never been asked that. I don't think I've got like a bullet point list, but certainly for me, it's again back to that word of relationships. I'll only ever discuss anything for that matter if I believe it's appropriate and if I believe it's whom I'm speaking with is relevant and important to them. But again, as you build relationships with people over years, you get to know what their other passions are, not just yachting. They might like going skiing or go on a safari or have grandkids or their 50th wedding anniversaries next year. There's lots of things that you pick up just in conversation, whether it's at lunch in their home or their yacht or their office or wherever. And then I suppose organically, the other day, one of my clients told me I'm a super connector, where I love to connect the dot for the benefit of all, like an omni-win, where if I can connect this client to this client who would otherwise never meet, that's an omni-win because then they're going to go off and do wonderful things together. Maybe non-profit, philanthropy, wonderful things. Maybe for-profit and help with all their other, businesses and be a force for good in that way. And so I think ultimately it comes down to that conversation, that relationship, and very carefully, planting the seed in conversation of if I pick up that they have their own family foundation or they like to support an ocean conservation charity, well, I'd love to then invite them to one of the other ocean conservation charities I've supported for 16 years. I've currently got a yacht for sale that we've had conversations with the owner, perhaps rather than selling the yacht, maybe there's a way of donating the yacht to the ocean conservation charity. And now I'm seeing my passions literally overlap, where the full value of the yacht then goes to the charity and they can generate extraordinary revenue for 3 years. So there's lots of conversations I'm having. And whether it's a cause or a charity that I'm passionate about or not, just the other day I had a meeting completely unrelated to philanthropy, but they made mention that their new building technique is going to help poverty and get kids off the street. So immediately I said, well, let me introduce you to this charity that I've supported, which are currently saving 5 million kids in India off the street, giving them an education for less than $1 per child a year. And it was totally unrelated to, I wasn't talking about philanthropy, but I enjoy when I have the opportunity to make these connections. And again, it's organic. It's not framed or teed up. It's just, that's my personality. I think I just enjoy it.
Yeah. I was thinking how I would answer the same question. And there's some similarities. Like, I find that just telling people what I'm doing, instead of saying, hey, do you want to come support Child Rescue Association? I just say, hey, I'm headed to the city to meet with this police department. It sounds like they might let us have our trainers come in and help them. And you start socializing the idea. And then the ones who are interested just ask questions,
Yeah.
and if I can just manage to let it marinate, and be encouraging and send them resources, watch this documentary, watch this video, or answer their questions, and then just let them think about it. I've been so surprised so we started ours in 2009 and then started the US side in 2010. And people that I haven't seen for 9 years or something, like oftentimes their first question will be, hey, are you still doing that counter child trafficking thing? What's going on with your child rescue stuff? And it's funny to me, sometimes how much it has stuck in people's minds. I'll say another one for me too is, it's kind of a filter. Like, I kind of actually love meeting really successful people who have spent, like, now when they can do whatever they want, they're sacrificing time and money, especially time. The ones who like put in real time and almost like shaped their character. I mean, like they're like better friends. Like, they're not always, but like it is kind of a nice filter sometimes of like these people who are sacrificing a lot of time when they could just write a check. I don't know. It's like it helps them be the best version of themselves, which makes them a better friend, which makes them a better client, which makes them other things. I don't know if you found that.
Yeah. And I think certainly it's that sort of law of attraction, I think it's called, where you start talking about these conversations and it starts attracting people to you whom also have a similar passion or also want to help with ocean conservation or anti-human trafficking or healthcare or education or children's adoption. And, then you start noticing things more. It's like if you're going to go and buy a car, you start noticing that car on the road far more than you would otherwise because you're considering buying it. It's kind of front of mind.
Yeah.
The same for me with philanthropy. If I'm chatting to someone and then they mention that they've got an interest in helping their local homelessness charity, well, immediately I can connect them to someone who's done great things with helping to help with homelessness. So I don't know. It's just, I think, comes to me when, people discuss it, they bring it up in conversation, and then I'll just happily and enjoy connecting them with each other.
Yeah, totally. Well, if people want to learn more or connect with you, where are the best places on the internet?
Yeah, thanks, Jess. No, I'd love to connect and love to advise anyone, both on the sort of philanthropic side, if I can connect you to any of the young social entrepreneurs around the world that are doing extraordinary good, saving and helping thousands of lives. And it's not just that life, it's that generational effect. It's their kids and grandkids that are also saved from trafficking.
Actually, can I jump in on that for 1 second?
Yeah.
This gets talked about all the time. So many people know my wife's family story. My mother-in-law was trafficked as a 12-year-old in the Santa Monica area in Los Angeles. She was the 4th generation in their family. She broke the cycle, so it didn't happen to my wife. And my wife talks about this all the time because we go to these charity things and my wife kind of hates it when people are like, you're so amazing. She's like, no, I'm not. My mom was. I'm just the beneficiary. And now we're trying to enhance it. Now we're trying to have this happen for more people. Basically give the help to people that my mom didn't get. Okay. And she had to get out herself. But my wife consistently talks about the lives of our children, the lives of her children versus the lives of her grandmas for essentially 100 years over 4 generations, right? And it is massive. I mean, it's so night and day when we go places and people find out that, my wife grew up basically in like the hood. Okay. And it like literally doesn't compute. They're like, hold on, like it is every time that people say things like discouraging things like leopards can't change their spots, or sometimes you've heard that terrible term when people call them throwaway kids, which I just don't even think should exist, right? And these people who say like they have this sense of like, well, they're like basically permanently broken, like whether they say it on their outside voice or it's just their attitude. And it's so fun for me to get to say like, well, you've got an opinion, but I've got proof. My mother-in-law, her kids she's got 2 business owners, prosthodontist, dentist. Her youngest is married with kids. She's got like 11 grandchildren. She went from just horrible, sickening abuse into getting rented out for money for that, to ending up on the street, to then raising dentist business owners, people who have like her children very much have the American dream. And it's not like she doesn't still have PTSD, and some of that gets passed on to like her kids. My wife still has to, deal with the things of being raised by someone who'd been through that much trauma. You know what I mean? Like there's multiple generational effects of the abuse as well. But, just the genuine, true happiness, that's available with somebody breaking the chain. I mean, I get to live it every day in my own house of looking at my own kids versus my wife's grandmother's, So I just wanted to double down and say here to what you just said.
Well, extraordinary human being for your mother-in-law to have achieved all that, and testament to her extraordinary character to be able to bring up amazing kids like that. But I think, you sort of hit the nail on the head where if I'm going to help save a child, that one child's family forever also will be saved. It's not that one individual, it's generational ripple effect. And that's what I enjoy doing where I can and helping. And so I think back to your first question is, how can people connect? If they'd like to learn about charities I support, love to connect them and see how that could multiply the philanthropy. Would be wonderful. Do reach out. If you've got questions, I'm on LinkedIn, my name, and I also have a sort of business card where you can see my other social media, sort of YouTube and other interviews, and my expertise in yachting, of course. So that's contact theyachttailor.com.
That's great. When you think about somebody who had a really big impact in your life, that you want to be more like when you grow up, we've heard about potentially the greatest yachtsman in the world. Who's someone else?
There's lots of mentors. I've been lucky enough to, what's the phrase? I've stood on the shoulders of giants, and there's lots of giants who've helped me get to where I am today. So too many to thank or to mention sort of in person, but certainly it's the mentors throughout my life, whether it's learning to sail, whether it's at university doing a yacht design degree, whether it's the business associates and those that have helped mentor me and help me craft my skills in the yacht industry. Obviously my family and all those around me. But yeah, I'm just happy to try and make a little bit of an impact and help where I can. And it's a fun world where you can enjoy 2 passions simultaneously and hope to make a bit of an impact.
Yeah. Thinking about your 20 years in this space, what's advice you'd go back and give a younger version of yourself to maybe help yourself accomplish more quicker?
Great question. I think, yeah, back yourself, and in the process of backing yourself, know yourself that um, it'll be a really exciting career, um, and maybe focus your energy earlier on philanthropy, and then you'll get even more satisfaction. But I've certainly enjoyed what I've achieved in the last sort of 5 or 6 years on the philanthropic side. But yeah, maybe jump in faster to the philanthropic work because it's the most rewarding part of my day.
Yeah, I echo that. I'd actually had my charity for 7 years. Um, and I went on one of our own trip down in Central America. We did some stuff helping law enforcement. We did some um, stuff. I actually stayed in an aftercare facility. And there was like this little kid who was the same age as my third daughter and had the same personality. And, her and her mom and some of the other kids and their moms invited me to go to the park with them and these things like this. And it just like seized me in a way that the work hadn't, even though it'd been my own charity for 7 years, that was just like got a hold of me in a way that was like, I don't know, one of the most like fulfilling things I've ever done in my life, you know? And it's funny because before we started the show, I like fast cars and fancy stuff and adrenaline things, and I've been doing action sports my whole life, and you know, rich people and fancy things and all this stuff, and it none of that compared to walking down this dirt street, walking past these huts with like a corrugated tin roof, and these like true genuine poverty, and realizing like, oh, well, when Westerners show up here with $3,000 to rent kids for a weekend, and the cops are only getting paid, I think I calculated it was like $2.16 an hour. You know, no wonder it's such a vulnerable community. The cops are vulnerable to corruption. There's just so many opportunities for kids to not grow up with safety, and then seeing how happy this little girl was who had been through really, really tough things. And just kind of the optimism that as terrible as these issues are, make me cry, that everybody gets second chances in life. And it's not like she won't have struggles and things she'll likely work through for the rest of her life. But she could also have just like sheer joy, and was having just as good time as my kid, that I lived with. And it's funny how much better it was than doing fancy things with fancy people.
Yeah.
Even though I still like that stuff,
Yeah. No, it's the most rewarding part of my day is when I can connect and when I can help and support different causes and organizations. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you again for your time today. This has been fun.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for asking me. I really enjoyed our conversation and getting to know you a little bit better. And look forward to supporting you and your charity and foundation and others in the future.
Thanks so much. Bye, everyone.